Welcome to the Instagram stories for Wednesday, January 29th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. Today on the show, we're going to dive into what the head of Instagram has been sharing, not only on his recent Ask Me Anything, but also with his explanations about how the Instagram algorithm has been handling ranking lately. And on today's episode, we'll dive into how it handles stories. Plus, after the theme music is over, I will do Wednesday Waffle, which is where I talk about another topic that I'm interested in just talking about and discussing, and you could choose to listen to that or not. I am not offended in the slightest. It might be social media related, it might not. That's a bit of a mystery. All that and more, but first, here's a word from our sponsor. Welcome back. The head of Instagram has been making a video series explaining how ranking works on the platform, and this most recent section has to do with how stories are ranked. Here's the clip.
This is the third in a short series of videos about how ranking works on Instagram. And on this one, I wanted to focus on stories. Now to start, I want to be clear that for almost every creator out there, you're going to reach more people if you post to feed than if you post to stories. And that's because stories is designed to really connect people with others that they know in real life, their friends. Now that said, this is how ranking works. We rank for a number of things, but the most important signals are how likely you are to tap on the story in the first place, how likely you are to like that story, and how likely you are to send a message or reply to that story. Obviously, replies aren't relevant for most people because they're not going to just respond to a creator that they love but they've never met in real life. They might, but they probably won't. So if you want to reach the most people possible, post to feed. But if you want to use stories, remember that they are a way to reach your most passionate audience, a subset. These are people who are willing to go tap on your story without even knowing what's behind it. And so think about things like behind the scenes content, even more authentic and raw content, things that are super timely, things that people who are really passionate about you are going to be excited about, and that will help your stories reach over time. More to come soon. Peace.
This is an important fundamental thing to remember. Stories are not going to be suggested to people who don't follow you, only people who follow you. Therefore, it's unlikely that people will discover you because of stories. If you want to grow your audience, you would want to use feed posts, specifically reels and carousels. If you want to continue to nurture the audience you already have, you would use stories. And if you want to communicate with your most passionate fans and followers, you would want to use broadcast channels. That's just a quick way to understand the difference between all of the different ways to communicate on Instagram. Okay, let's dive into what the head of Instagram recently shared on his Ask Me Anything. Let's start with the thing on Instagram that I like the least, story highlights. The question, please don't remove story highlights, and a little prayer hands emoji.
We don't want to remove highlights. We're just trying to figure out a way to get more of the content above the fold on the profile and simplify it. So one idea is to move highlights into the grid and mark them as highlights and still have a highlights tab. We'll try others as well, but we're not looking to delete them entirely. We're just trying to simplify the experience because Instagram, quite frankly, has become too complicated over the years.
Okay, let's go on to the next question. Is shadow banning real? If you've ever had the experience where a large number of your followers are all of a sudden not seeing your content, or your reach has gone down significantly, that can be an incredibly frustrating experience. An important thing to do at that time is to check your account status in the account center and make sure you're not dealing with any violations or anything like that. You will hear people say things like, don't post on Instagram for 24 or 48 hours to reset your none of that is true. Don't bother listening to advice like that.
Shadow banning means different things to different people. Usually it's used to mean that you're not getting as much reach as you think you deserve. I think that there are instances where we will actually limit the reach of an account, but if that's happening, you can see that in account status. So go to profile settings and account status. If that's not happening, then we are we're not trying to artificially demote you. It could be that the people who follow you don't use Instagram anymore, or they are not interested in your content anymore. It could be that our ranking systems are making a mistake and undervaluing your content, but it's in our interest to connect content that people are interested in with those people as much as possible, because the more we do that, the happier they are, the happier the creator is, and the stronger the business is. So we're trying to connect people with content that they are interested in, and we do make mistakes. But if you think something's happening artificially, you can check account status.
By the way, I just want to mention that the audio on his side is absolutely terrible. I think he's in the airport or something. It's not the environment for this kind of Q&A. Let's go on to the next question. Are 3-minute reels able to be recommended?
As long as a video is 3 minutes long or shorter, it can be recommended to accounts that do not follow you.
As a reminder, the key takeaway there is always keep your reels shorter than you think they should be. The next question, would you ever split reels from Instagram?
We used to talk about it, but most time spent on Instagram at this point is watching video. So I'm not sure what Instagram would be if there wasn't video in it. I know it can be frustrating when things change on you, but if Instagram is still a feed of square photos and there's no DMs and no stories and no reels, maybe some of you would like it more, but the truth is we would be way less relevant in the world, and I probably wouldn't even be making this video.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear Adam's answers to the questions, when can I get the new Edits app? Why did you change the grid? And has anyone punched you in the mouth for ruining Facebook? That last question seems overly aggressive. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Recently, Instagram announced that there would be a new video editing app called Edits that they would be releasing, very similar to ByteDance's CapCut. The app will be first available for iOS, then Android. The question, when and how can I get Edits?
Edits is coming soon, looking about a month out. I'm really excited about it. There's going to be some fun differences from not just CapCut, but the other major editors out there. So keep an eye out, and you're welcome to pre-order in the App Store now.
Just as a reminder that app will be mobile only. There will not be a desktop component. At least Instagram hasn't announced that yet. The next question has to do with a new feature that Instagram rolled out where you can see what your friend's activity is when they use Reels. The question, how is the Friends tab in Reels different than the old activity feed?
Well, for one, it's not showing you every reel that anybody you follow liked, where it's basically recommendations for you where we start by looking at things that your friends or the accounts that you follow have liked. Also, you could see a lot of other things in Activity tab that you cannot see in the Friends tab in Reels.
Sometimes I think back to when the Activity tab was how you saw what your friends were doing on Instagram. It was a completely different time. The next question has to do with some of the changes that Instagram has made to the grid, specifically around cover images. The question, why did you change the grid?
Got a lot of angry comments about this week. The reason is the vast majority of both photos and videos uploaded are vertical. So Square is just cropping most of that content away and just not really respecting the content. Now, I know some of you spend a lot of time lining up those grids and it's really frustrating to see it change, and I hear you. But we really do have to make the default experience reflect the default content that is uploaded. So that's why.
The next question has to do with a feature that both TikTok and YouTube have, playlists. Playlists are a great way for you to group similar content that you've made together and people can go through. So if, for instance, you make a series about one particular topic, you could group those all together in a playlist and people can watch that one by one. Or you could even link directly to that playlist when sharing those videos with others. The question, will Instagram ever introduce playlists?
If by playlist you mean like a group of videos, like a video list, we used to have that and it wasn't used very much. We got rid of it. If by playlist you mean like music sharing, music is an important part of Instagram, but it's sort of an augmentation. It makes a video better. You can share what you're listening to in your notes, but we're not trying to build a listening first experience. That's, I think, going to be better handled by Spotify and the other competitors in that space.
You know what's interesting about what he just said? He is referring to when they used to have guides, and he's thinking of guides as playlists. I wouldn't necessarily equate guides with playlists, but I see how he's thinking about it. And the last question we're going to discuss today, has anyone ever punched you in the mouth yet for ruining Facebook? This question just seems so angry.
Nobody has punched me in the mouth, but I get my fair share of angry DMs and comments about changes. What we're trying to do is evolve Instagram to make sure that it stays relevant. We ship things that people use. We ship things when it looks like people are going to use Instagram more and get more value out of it. We know that there's so many people, over 2 billion on the platform, that there's going to be many people who disagree with any change, but the alternative is just to become slowly irrelevant. So not looking to piss anybody off, not trying to be contentious, just trying to evolve this thing forward and stay relevant in a world where competition is fierce and changing quickly. I talk here not to necessarily convince everybody about every change that we make, but just to explain it. So that's what I'm trying to do. I recognize that that's going to mean that I get a lot of hate from some of you, and that's part of the job.
Okay, that's it for the question and answer section of the show. After the theme song, you can stick around for the Wednesday Waffle if you feel like hearing that. Otherwise, be sure to come back next time for more social media news, strategy, and other things you need to know.
I'm not yet a member of the Instagram team, but my podcast covers many Instagram themes. But the name, image, logos are trademarks of Instagram and the LCC in the USA and every territory. Everything I publish independently until Zuck returns my DMs and starts to pay my salary. Not sponsored or endorsed, no lies, no fallacies. I use their logo with permission, not malicious or callously. No trademark violation, filling all criteria. Follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Daniel Hill Media.
And now for a completely different topic. Once a year, my wife and I put together a giant silent disco. We invite all our friends and some people who we would like to get to know better, who may be friends of friends or just acquaintances. A silent disco is actually super fun. If you've never been to one, here's how it works. There are headsets that have 3 different channels, red, blue, and green. Each channel will have a different type of music on it, and you can have multiple DJs playing in each different channel. The headsets have colors, so you can see what color people around you are listening to. You might notice that all of a sudden everyone around you is listening to the red channel, so you can change your headset to hear what people are listening to on the red channel. I typically ask my friends to make short playlists of around 20 minutes or so of 4 or 5 songs that they think people would want to dance to, and then we all take turns playing the music, being the DJ, dancing, and it is super fun. However, the challenge is it is a lot of work. What I really need is either, number one, an event coordinator or planner for somebody to run that whole thing so I can just enjoy it and have fun, or have a venue or other large event host the silent disco and I just buy a bunch of tickets for my friends. This is something I am working on. I haven't quite found a solution yet, but if you have never participated in a silent disco, look for one in the area or at the next large conference or festival you're going to. If they do have it, I guarantee you're going to have a blast. Hey, that was really nice to talk about something different. I am really a fan of this whole Wednesday Waffle concept. All right, thanks for listening.